Lunchtime Politics. First, the highlights. Reactions trail President Tinubu's sack of military chiefs, IGP Customs boss as he names replacements. National Assembly APC caucus hold first meeting after elections. And presidential election petition sits, more evidence before the court and more witnesses. Welcome to the program. I'm Millicent Walker in Lagos, and we begin with the Presidential Election Petition Court, which has resumed hearing in the petition by the People's Democratic Party challenging the victory of President Bola Tinubu. So far, we understand that the party has called 26 witnesses to prove its case, and there are also about a number of bags of evidence we understand are before the court in this particular case. We'll bring you more details as soon as we get them. Well, let's take you elsewhere, where the president will on Thursday, June the 22nd, attend a new Global Financial Pact summit in Paris, France, his first official trip outside the country since assuming office as president, according to President Tinubu's special advisor on special duties, communication and strategy, Dele Alake. The summit is to review and sign the new global pact that places vulnerable countries on priority lists for support and also investment. It follows the devastating impact of climate change, energy crisis and after effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. The two-day meeting will be hosted by President Emmanuel Macron, to be attended by other world leaders, and will look at opportunities to restore fiscal space to countries that face difficult short-term financial challenges and mobilize innovative financing for countries vulnerable to climate change. It will equally encourage investment in green infrastructure for the energy transition in emerging and also developing economies. President Tinubu will be accompanied on the trip by members of the Presidential Policy Advisory Council, senior government officials, and he's due back in Abuja on Saturday, June the 24th. Well, in the meantime, the president has moved to consolidate his new government, and this is with the immediate retirement of all service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, advisors, Controller General of Customs. In a statement on Monday by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, President Bola Tinubu approved the appointment of Mr. Nuhu Ribadu as Special Security Advisor, Major General Christopher Musa as Chief of Defence Staff, Major General Taurid Lagbaja as Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala as Chief of Naval Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar as Chief of Air Staff. Others are DIG Kayode Egbetokun as Acting Inspector General of Police, Major General Ekpa Undeadeye as Chief of Defence Intelligence, Ms. Adeni Adewale as Acting Controller General of Customs, among others. Also, the new National Security Advisor, a household name, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, of course, is the National Security Advisor. A bit about him. He's a trained lawyer who was called to the bar in 1984. He is, of course, the pioneer executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. For the Chief of Defence Staff, Major General C.G. Musa, he hails from Kaduna State. He is a member of the 38th regular course of the Nigerian Defence Academy. He's held command positions in several military operations and also led troops of Operation Forest Sanity in confronting terrorists in both Kaduna and Niger states. A little bit about the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Lagbaja. He hails from Osun State. He's a member of the 39th Regular Course of the Nigerian Defence Academy. He was also a platoon commander of the 93 Battalion, 72 Special Forces Battalion. He was named Chief of Staff at the Headquarters 8 Task Force Division in Monguno. And now, Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Ogala, hails from Enugu State. He is a member of the 39th Regular Course, the Nigerian Defence Academy. He was Director of Lessons Learned at the Naval Headquarters, Department of Policy and Plans. Also a regular combatant and has held several command appointments, attended several courses both at home and also abroad. For the Chief of Air Staff, Abubakar, he hails from Kano State. He's a member of the Nigerian Defence Academy. He was commissioned pilot officer in 1992, holds a master's in international affairs and diplomacy from Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. And from Cross River State is Major General Emmanuel Udandeye. He is commandant of the Martin Luther Gwa International Leadership Peacekeeping Center, Jaji, Kaduna State, also a member of the Troop Contributing Countries Working Group for developing the second edition of the United Nations Infantry Battalion Manual. The Acting Inspector General of Police, CIG Kaide Gbetukun, hails from Ogun State. He served as Police Area Commander of Osogbo, Osun State, and Gusau as well, Zamfara State. Adeni Adewale is the Acting Controller General of Customs, who has over 30 years' experience in the Nigerian Customs Service. Just a bit about these men that are now to replace all the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and of course the Controller General of Customs. Well, let's talk more about these appointments. And joining me right now virtually is Dr. Kabiru Adamu. He's the Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited, Enterprise Security Risk Management and Intelligence Specialist. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Millicent. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. First, did you see this coming, and how significant is this move by the president when you look at Nigeria's national security and also defense strategy?
Well, to say that I saw it coming, yes, but not as speedily as it came, which I would say is quite impressive. It is a reflection of how the president takes security seriously. A lot of what he has done since he was sworn in on May 29th has been in the area of security and economy. And as you know, the two are related. Some of the drivers of insecurity are actually economic, socio-economic issues. And so working on both, I think, would really augur well for the security sector in Nigeria. To the second part of your question regarding what it means for the security sector, this is a first step, appointing new individuals whose record has shown stellar qualities. They've all achieved quite remarkably in all the fields of endeavor that they are involved in previously. So we're hoping that that kind of record would also translate to what they will contribute in improving the security sector.
I've tried to read a bit about, what some of these men have done in the past and some of their expertise and also experience. But for what you've observed, their pedigree, do they bring any unique qualifications and perhaps experiences to their positions?
Definitely. Let me start to the one that kind of affects you and I indirectly. That is the police, the acting AIG. He's a mathematician who over time has developed his policing capabilities. And we will all agree that one of the, or two of the major things that is affecting policing at the moment is both strategy and then data. As a mathematician, I'm hoping that he does understand the relevance of data and so will work to enhance the usage of that data. There are several projects that previous inspectors generals of police have attempted to introduce within the police using data and ensuring record keeping and all of that. So we're hoping that he would advance these projects, bring in more so that we have an advanced policing structure that uses technology and that also rides on modern platforms that are frankly available almost free for us. And then if you look at the other persons, let me go to the service chiefs. In the case of the new Chief of Defense Staff, he's been deployed in the Northeast. He was in the field. He understands the challenges. He also understands the strategic issues that were developed under the current or the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, especially the component around enhancing democratization of the military sector. Most people fail to realize the relevance of this. We're still kind of having elements of the military legacy within the military structure. And so enhancing that democratization, I think, is one thing that I'm hoping he would carry along together with his field experience. Then to the Chief of Army Staff, his last major field deployment was in Kaduna in Division 1. And we saw how he led from the front, which is the kind of general that we've been hoping for. He also understands the challenges, and we're hoping that he'll bring that experience. And so almost all of them have that kind of record. But I must emphasize that what we have is a structure that should be run like a system. So it's not an individual thing. It should be cooperation, coordination, and collaboration. And one of the best ways to achieve that is for them to see each other as a supporting element. And then that way they would be able to act in unison to address some of the major challenges affecting the security sector.
Is it also clear, perhaps, the specific priorities that the president has outlined for them in these roles that they will begin to occupy?
We just need to look at the mandate that set up their various organizations. Time will not allow me to go into the individual mandates, but the constitution in most of them is clear regarding their performances. And part of the challenges we've seen in the past is deviation from this mandate. So I'm hoping that, but then it will be instructive too. And this is not for them to do. It would be for the president to ensure that they comply with the requisite, the mandates within which they were set up. So if you use the example of the Office of the National Security Advisor, part of the challenges that affected the running of that office under the immediate past occupant is the allegation or accusation that he was increasingly becoming operational. It is an advisory office, and the moment it becomes operational, there is a tendency for the other elements within the security structure to feel he is entering their, jurisdiction, as it were. So most of them would resist that, and it has created a lot of enmity between themselves. So I think I'm hoping that the president will take action. And in mentioning the president, there are two offices that are critical in doing this. This is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and then the Chief of Staff to the President. They need to advise the President correctly, ensure that they look into the mandates and laws that set up these organizations, understand their performances, and then more critically, those governance structures, these councils that have been created in our constitution for running the security architecture, those councils should become operational. Before the IG is confirmed, as an example, the police council should sit down, approve his nomination, and then, of course, the other processes involved would follow. Likewise, the National Security Council, we need to see those councils becoming more operational. Within the intelligence community, there are also bodies like that. They also need to become operational. So it's not, the mandate is clear, but there are also other functions that are decided and governed by persons outside where they end, so that at the end of the day, we would see them working together and achieving our national interest.
Indeed, Dr. Damo, in perhaps 60 seconds, and this is looking ahead, are there any factors to watch in terms of assessing, the effectiveness of their roles?
So that's the major challenge that we have as a country. We do not have an institutionalized mechanism for measuring the performance of persons within the national security architecture. And this is, I think, the next thing I will advise. There are two things that will be critical here. Security sector reform. A lot of this has been started. So it's just for the new president to ensure that he completes the security sector reform. And then the other one is security sector governance. We have different leadership within the security sector, and it's convoluted. It doesn't allow easy collaboration, cooperation, and coordination. So there is a need for the president to look at that so that he allows these newly appointed persons the ability to operate. And then, of course, lastly, is the role of the National Assembly. A new assembly has just been inaugurated, the 10th Assembly. The chairmen of the various committees are yet to be appointed. So I'm hoping that the leadership of the two chambers will appoint persons who have the capacity to conduct oversight, the types of oversight that would give us the security architecture that we need. The second component is legislature. I refer to the mandate of most of these organizations. Some of these mandates are moribund. They were created probably 30, 40 years ago, and most of them under a military. So we need to look at that again. The 10th Assembly needs to look at that to improve the democratization element within those mandates.
We always appreciate your time on the program. Many thanks, Dr. Kabiru Adamo, Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we're back after this break. Welcome back. And we have more on the appointments. Joining me is Mr. Kingsley Zoma, Security Consultant. Welcome to the program.
Oh, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Great. Any surprises with the announcements of appointments? Zoma, can you hear me? Okay.
No much surprises. Rather the Yes, I can hear you. No much surprises. Rather, the atmosphere is full of different accolades to the commander-in-chief on his approach in the appointment, in the sense that the appointment reflects the geopolitical divide and balancing of the nations. If I'm to remind you, we have 6 geopolitical zones, so he made sure that that all the geopolitical zones are well represented. So this is the first time in the past 8 years plus that we can say that we now have a national security interest.
So you see them more as professional appointments rather than political?
No, it goes beyond the political. Like, for instance, the chief of army staff, General Lagwaja, is a corps with a very track record in the area of neutralizing banditry, Boko Haram insurgency, among others. Likewise, is a counterpart in the Air Force and the one in the Navy. These are seasoned professionals, I know, in the security field, that given the enabling environment, they will be there to help us overcome this security crisis. And again, another striking balance and of much more interest is the chief of defense staff, coming from southern Kaduna, northwest, where you also have the heat of this banditry assault. His rise to the prime level of chief of defense staff will go a long way in neutralizing the threat of the remnants of threat of banditry in the area. Then another area that is of much concern and jubilation is the one of customs service, because of the previous administration seems to have dealt with the custom for good 8 years. Nobody rose to the rank of Controller General. It actually caused for joy for those in those circles, because their counterparts in the military and other security echelon had their promotions, had future in their career, but custom was technically abandoned in the past 8 years.
So essentially a bit of, political and also professional considerations with this. How do you expect them to hit the ground running? What are some of the things that you think Nigerians will want to see with this new appointments?
Well, with this new appointment, may I remind you that a couple of days ago, we had some information or revelations from the ex-militant Asari Dokubo. So this new security chief that is now being assembled would critically look into the allegations leveled against the police, the security agencies, to see how they can overcome it. And given the success they've recorded so far. I'm confident that the professionals that have been assembled together, by the time they were able to constitute their own management and tactical team at their different domain, will surely have a good roadmap to combating insecurity. And also there must be also the security angle, the political angle of it, which I am sure the president has been reaching out to opposition parties and aggrieved the party members to join hands in terms of government of national unity.
All right, Zoma, Kingsley Zoma, many thanks for sharing your insights on this matter.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll move over to Nasarawa State, where the All Progressives Congress caucus there said that efforts are underway to resolve the leadership crisis rocking the 7th House of Assembly. They made this known after the meeting at the Government House in Lafia. The meeting, which had the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Adamu, the immediate past governor, Tanko Amakura, deliberated on a wide range of issues affecting the party.
The main purpose of the meeting is for the party to brief us on the state of affairs, and I think it's an excellent initiative that the party is able to take. Like everyone so far has said, it is a family, and the family will, from time to time, needs to brief itself about what is happening. Good or bad, we may be able to know what is happening in order for us to have a sense of direction, and that's what makes us a family. There is no family that is trouble-free. There is no family that will say they will not have one kind of misunderstanding or the other. But it is normal, to have those, and it is normal actually to scale through once you are having those kind of issues.
We are trying the best that we can to fix our house in order. Just about the speaker, and they are members of the family. We will invite everybody. We will sit down, we will dialogue to see how we can come together to work. The stakeholders are meant to understand that the matter is in court, and it's only the court that can decide otherwise. So those were some of the things we discussed at the stakeholders meeting.
Well, staying with party politics, the governorship candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Cross River State, is calling for redress of the 2023 governorship election, says the election was held with the party logo omitted from the ballot paper. Addressing newsmen in Calabar, the candidate, Mr. Wilfred Bonse, alleges that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, deliberately sidelined the party despite several court rulings. Explaining further, he said before the election early in 2023, they noticed that the first and second published lists for the governorship and House of Assembly elections by INEC excluded the NNPP logo.
1,000 horses, only one horse emerges. And usually, when one horse is crowned, every other participant is satisfied, provided the process is adjudged as free, fair, credible, and acceptable to all. And so, thankfully, there are processes that have also been put in place for adjudication, redress, and what have you, in the event that there are perceived injustices one way or the other. And we're in one of those processes now.
And over to Ogun State, where the 10th House of Assembly inauguration is taking place today. Members of the Assembly visitors are being screened into the chamber. The House of 26 members comprises 9 PDP members, 17 APC members. They're all expected to be sworn in shortly. A new Speaker and Deputy Speaker will also be elected during today's proceedings. The event, we understand, is yet to commence as the governor of the state, Dapo Abiodun, is currently holding a meeting with the incoming legislators. And to Bauchi, where Honorable Abubakar Suleiman of the People's Democratic Party has been elected Speaker of the Bauchi State 10th House of Assembly. Honorable Suleiman represents Ningi Central constituencies, leading the Assembly for the second time. Meanwhile, Honorable Jamilu Dahiru, also a PDP member representing Bauchi Central, has been elected Deputy Speaker. Both Speaker and Deputy were elected through a consensus. Shortly after the election, the Speaker inaugurated other members of the 10th Assembly. The Bauchi State House of Assembly comprises 31 members, 22 of them from the People's Democratic Party and 8 from the All Progressives Congress, while 1 member is that of the NNPP. And the governorship candidate, or rather, let's take you to another story now, where 6 companies have received approval to import petroleum products in the month of July. The managing director of the Nigeria Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, gave this disclosure to State House correspondents at the presidential villa. Mr. Farouk stated that apart from the approved 6, several companies applied for permits to import petroleum in due course. He also debunked insinuation that the Nigeria National Petroleum Company had given approval to Dangote Group to import petroleum, saying that the company has no powers to give such approval. The managing director further noted that there are several companies that applied for fuel importation permits and that anyone can apply to get access to the port, as the authority is open to all interested in importing. In his words, there are 6 companies who said they want to import fuel in July. Of course, all the others may import in December, in November, or any time. But those who expressed interest to bring in fuel in July, there are 6 of them as of the morning he gave the briefing. And that's it on Lunchtime Politics. You've been served. I'm Millicent Walker. Thanks for watching.